Welcome to a brand new deep dive. We're talking about the anatomy of self-discipline today.
Right, which is a topic that, it usually gets totally buried in these cliche, super polished self-help books.
Oh, absolutely. But today we have something so much better. We're unpacking this fascinating set of materials from a youth leadership curriculum.
Yeah, the Martin County PL program.
Exactly. Lesson 14 specifically. But the real gold mine here, the thing that makes this deep dive so special, is that we have a raw, real-world audio transcript of a mentor actually teaching this lesson.
Coach AJ.
Yes, Coach AJ. He's talking to a room full of future leaders, and you get this literal fly-on-the-wall perspective of a master mentor in action.
It's so rare to get that unedited view. Usually you just get the sanitized textbook version of how to teach discipline.
Right, you don't get the street-level view, you don't see the pushback from the youth, or how the mentor handles the apathy in the room.
And Coach AJ, he doesn't coddle them at all. He just bypasses the standard motivational speech entirely.
He really does. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because the way he starts out is it's so foundational. The curriculum introduces this stark binary right at the top.
The uphill versus downhill concept.
Exactly. Everything worthwhile is uphill. And Coach AJ illustrates this to the youth using this incredibly simple metaphor of a ball on a hill.
Which is brilliant, right? Because a ball is never, ever going to just accidentally roll uphill.
Never. If you want it to go up, you have to physically push it. Winds, preparation, high morale, all of that takes intentional action.
It takes kinetic energy. And he forces the room to confront the opposite of that, which is, well, what happens when you stop pushing?
Yeah, because we have this illusion, right? We tend to think that taking a break or just standing still in life is this neutral action.
Like hitting pause on a video game.
Yes, like you just pause the game, go get a snack, and your character is exactly where you left them. But I want to push on that. Is there really no flat ground in life?
There really isn't.
Yeah.
Not when it comes to human behavior. It's like the fundamental physics of success. Gravity is a constant force.
So if you aren't applying forward thrust,
gravity doesn't pause. The hill doesn't suddenly sprout a little flat ledge for you to rest on. If you release the pressure, the ball rolls backward immediately.
the downhill sliding.
Exactly. And the curriculum defines this downhill sliding as aimless, empty habits. And Coach AJ makes them realize that they cannot just coast.
One of the youth in the audio actually brings this up. They say something like, I just want to stay still. I don't want to overachieve. I just want to be normal and not slide down.
It's such an honest reaction.
It really is. And Coach AJ has to completely dismantle that illusion for them right there in the room.
Because the neurological default of the human brain is energy conservation.
Mm-hmm.
We are biologically wired to seek the path of least resistance.
So standing still is literally an illusion.
Completely. When you decide to just coast for a day, your brain is actually beginning to prune the neural pathways of your difficult uphill habits.
No.
And it reinforces the easier pathways. So you are actively sliding backward whether you realize it or not. It's a constant defiance of gravity.
That is a harsh paradigm shift to force on a teenager.
Oh, it's brutal. He's stripping away their comforting middle ground. He's cornering them into taking ownership.
Saying you're either choosing the pain of the climb or passively accepting the pain of the slide.
Exactly. But, making them realize they have to push the rock is really just step one.
Right, because if you're pushing with no direction, you're just exhausting yourself. You need a vector.
And that's where the curriculum transitions. It draws this really severe line between a dream and a goal.
Yeah, I love this part. There's this quote from the material, "The dream is free, but the journey isn't."
A dream requires zero cognitive friction. It's totally conceptual.
Like in the room, one of the future leaders says they want to be a park ranger in Yellowstone, which is an awesome dream.
It's a beautiful vision. But Coach AJ instantly identifies that as a free dream. It's not a goal yet.
Right, so to convert it into something real, he brings in the SMART framework.
Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound.
We've all heard of it, but the way he teaches it is so grounded. He uses this deeply self-deprecating story about wanting to be in the NBA.
Even though he admits he can barely dribble a basketball.
Yeah, he gets a big laugh from the room. But I have a question about this because he leans really hard into the attainable and realistic part of that framework.
He really does.
But don't we usually tell young people they can be absolutely anything they want? Like, dream as big as possible. Isn't that realistic check a bit, I don't know, discouraging?
It sounds discouraging on the surface, sure. But there is this sort of toxic positivity in modern mentorship that ignores baseline reality.
Okay, how so?
Well, when you set wildly unrealistic expectations, it actually destroys morale long term.
Because they inevitably fail.
Yeah, it creates a dopamine prediction error. You get a rush from imagining this massive, impossible goal, but then the daily grind hits.
And you aren't making progress.
Right.
Right.
And your brain punishes you for it. It leads to learned helplessness. And even worse, unattainable goals give you a built-in excuse to fail.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. If your goal is the NBA and you don't make it, you can just blame genetics or the system. It removes your personal locus of control.
So by making the goals realistic and attainable, Coach AJ is taking away their excuses.
Exactly. He grounds it in reality. If the goal is entirely within your control and you fail, well, the only thing left to blame is your own discipline.
That puts so much weight on their shoulders. But he gives them a tool to handle it, right?
Yes, the tactic of the one non-negotiable thing.
I love this. He tells them not to make these massive to-do lists that just paralyze you. Just pick one single thing for the day to build momentum.
It's behavioral momentum in action. You get that genuine, earned dopamine release from doing the one small task, and that powers you up the hill tomorrow.
And he backs it up with real action. He tells the room, hey, if you want a job, fill out 2 applications, do the work.
And if they do, he promises to personally hand-deliver it to the hiring manager and vouch for them.
Which is incredible. He's saying, look, the journey isn't free. You have to pay the entry fee by doing the tedious paperwork.
Right. He doesn't remove the uphill climb. They still have to push the rock.
But once they show that momentum, he leverages his own reputation to clear the path for them. He reduces the friction.
Which is the perfect segue, really, into the next phase of the deep dive. Because once you start climbing, you inevitably hit external friction.
Yeah, having a goal is great, but then you hit the resistance. The curriculum uses this John C. Maxwell quote, the right thing to do and the hard thing to do are often the same thing.
And this is where the energy in the room totally shifts in the audio.
Oh, you can feel it. Coach AJ makes them do this brutal exercise. He asks them to write down the name of one person who is helping them achieve their goal.
Which is the easy part.
Right. But then he says, write down the name of one person who gets in the way, someone who distracts them or pulls them downhill.
And he challenges them to manage those relationships, which, for a teenager, is, their social circle is their entire world.
It's an evolutionary survival mechanism at that age.
Exactly. Asking them to audit their friends feels like a literal threat to their survival.
I was thinking about this like a gardener. You can plant all these good seeds, all your smart goals, but if you don't do the hard, painful work of pulling the weeds, those bad influences, they're just going to choke the plant out.
That's a great analogy.
But I want to push back on this a little. Is it actually fair to ask a youth to just dump their friends because they're a bad influence? That seems incredibly difficult.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of social psychology, it is brutally difficult, which is exactly why it's the hard thing.
Right.
But the brilliance of Coach AJ here is that he doesn't tell them who to cut out. He doesn't act like this dictator.
Because if he did, they'd just rebel against him.
Exactly. He just asks the question. He empowers them to self-identify the obstacles.
He says, your life today is the sum of your habits, not the sum of your friends' habits.
Yes. He isolates their autonomy. He's teaching them that true self-discipline often looks like establishing these painful but necessary boundaries.
He's making them realize that carrying a bad influence is like dragging a parachute up the hill.
He plants that seed of discomfort, so the next time that friend tries to pull them downhill, they feel the drag.
It's all about awareness.
Exactly. But, external friends pulling you down is only half the battle.
Yeah, this is where the episode really climaxes. Because the conversation moves from the friction outside of us to the friction entirely inside of us.
The hostile takeovers.
Right. The most intense form of downhill sliding.
Okay.
Addiction. But what's fascinating is that Coach AJ doesn't call it a bad habit.
No. He uses a much heavier word.
He calls it a stronghold. Here's where it gets really interesting to me. Why use such intense, almost militaristic language?
Because a bad habit implies a lack of discipline. A stronghold implies a complete surrender of territory.
Wow.
It shifts the entire conversation. He uses the example of vaping and nicotine, which is obviously a massive issue for youth right now.
And he doesn't lecture them about lung health or statistics.
No, because teenagers' prefrontal cortexes aren't fully developed. They can't conceptualize long-term mortality. Health warnings literally don't work.
Instead, he describes the visceral, physiological panic, waking up and needing the vape before you even brush your teeth.
Tearing your room apart because you can't find it.
Yeah, letting this little piece of plastic dictate where you spend your money and your time.
He frames it entirely around a total loss of personal control. It's not a moral failing. It's a hostile takeover of the brain.
He's telling them, you aren't making the decision anymore. The chemical is.
And by doing that, he is brilliantly appealing directly to a young person's innate desire for independence.
Because teenagers hate being controlled.
Exactly. They despise being told what to do by parents or teachers.
Yeah.
So Coach AJ turns the addiction into the ultimate controlling authority.
He makes the habit the oppressor.
Yes. He channels their natural drive for rebellion and aims it directly at the stronghold itself. He makes them want to rebel against the vape to prove they're still in charge.
That is profound. It's such a clever psychological pivot. But he also validates how agonizing it is to break that stronghold.
Oh, he has deep empathy for it. He talks about kids crying in his office because their bodies won't let them quit.
Right, but he doesn't let that agony become an excuse to just give up.
No, because then he introduces the actual mechanism for fighting back, the rule of 1% better.
Which is so crucial. You don't have to fix your entire life by tomorrow morning.
If you try to quit cold turkey and fix everything at once, you'll just trigger that failure loop we talked about.
You just need to make one small shift. Just observe the stronghold for a day. Notice the panic.
Creating that tiny fraction of space between the stimulus and the response, that's where autonomy lives.
And it starts with the power of positive affirmation, right?
Absolutely. Looking in the mirror and saying, I am purposeful.
Instead of accepting the default narrative of I am aimless, that right there is the first step to taking back control.
It's planting your feet so you stop sliding downhill.
So to kind of bring this all together for everyone listening, the core mechanics of self-discipline that we've extracted from this curriculum and Coach AJ's transcript.
First, you have to accept that everything worthwhile is uphill. Standing still is a myth.
Second, you have to convert those free dreams into expensive, smart goals so you don't fall into learned helplessness.
Third, doing the hard work of weeding out those downhill influences and setting boundaries.
And finally, recognizing when a habit has bypassed your agency and become a stronghold.
And tackling it just 1% at a time.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a provocative final thought based on all of this.
Let's hear it.
We've talked a lot about the strongholds we accidentally build for ourselves, right? The nicotine, the bad habits.
The internal stuff.
Yeah. But if human attention is this vulnerable to being hijacked, think about the external environment you are operating in right now.
Oh, man. The algorithms.
Exactly. Every app on your phone, the infinite scroll, the constant notifications, these aren't just neutral tools.
They are perfectly frictionless downhill slopes.
Yes. They are engineered by behavioral scientists specifically designed to bypass your agency and occupy your brain.
They are algorithmic strongholds.
Exactly. So if everything worthwhile is uphill and standing still is an illusion, what is the one downhill habit you're allowing in your life right now simply because it's comfortable?
What would happen if you let go of that specific stronghold for just 1 week?
Think about how much of your daily behavior is actually a conscious climb and how much is just you rolling down a perfectly designed hill.
It's a heavy question, but a necessary one.
It really is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep fighting gravity, keep pushing that rock uphill, and we will catch you next time.